Well, it's getting late again. Can barely see the sun over the horizon. I'm hoping I get to see my kids this weekend. I don't know if I will. It's been difficult to communicating with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I'm going to try not to talk too much about that relationship on here. I'm having enough trouble with it, and I don't need any accusations or claims. But if I get to see my kids, I might record some of it if my kids are okay with it. If you have kids, always make sure that they're okay with you putting their faces themselves on the internet. Now, if they're babies and they can't articulate their desires, that's a little understandable because they don't have a will of their own, or they don't have an articulable will of their own. But if they can articulate their desires with words or hand signs if they can't speak, like in the case of being mute. Anyway, just make sure you get their permission. Some years ago, some things happened to my kids that were pretty bad. And that person's in prison now. But that is usually as far as I go with telling that story without asking my kids for permission. Because it is important that your children know that you respect them. They're not just property. Yeah, until they come of age, they're your kids. They need to obey you, respect you, and so on. But you need to respect them too. They're human beings. They need the same respect that any other human being needs. Always remember that. And don't let your pain, don't let your suffering or anything you're going through determine how you speak to them and how you treat them. So your spouse is being a jerk, or whatever word you choose to describe them. Who am I to tell you? That's not your child's fault. Your soon-to-be ex or already ex hurt you. It's continuing to hurt you. Maybe even spreads lies about you to cause problems. Maybe even spreads truths about you that at this point could be irrelevant just to hurt you. It's not your kid's fault. That's theirs. That's a grown person making a childish decision just so they can have more power. At the very least, feel like they have more power. I don't expect my relationship to rekindle. I'm hoping at the very least we can have a fairly civil relationship as two grown-ups so that our children don't suffer or pay the price for our sins. That way we can at least have a good relationship with our kids. I tried to save my children from this kind of pain. I didn't want them to know what it was like to not grow up with both parents in the same home. I didn't want them to know what it was like to grow up in poverty or to live through terrible times domestically, not, globally or nationally, because those things happen anyways, out of my control. I tried to save my marriage. It didn't happen. Now I'm just going to try and take care of my kids. Try to build a new life, so at the very least, I have something to call my own whenever it all ends. Because I will end, just like every other human on this earth. I'm not immortal. And if my kids can't stand over my grave and say, that was my father, and I'm happy that he was my father, then I have failed. And every parent should look at that the same way. If you are using your children as tools, stop now. Beg their forgiveness and do right. If you believe that your children exist to serve you, stop. Beg their forgiveness and do right. Because your job as a parent is to save them from the same suffering you experienced and to teach them how to be better than you are. They will replace you on this earth one day. And if you didn't do your job to make them better than you, then you doom them and the world they go into. And you have not done your job as a parent. So, as you go to sleep tonight, think about all that. Try to figure out what you can do tomorrow to make a better life for your children and to help them be better than you are.